master their interpretation. This is so important. Our interpretation is like the measuring stick. It's the hourglass that measures what's within our power, what's outside of our power. It's the balance that let us know what is more, within our control or our influence when it comes to situations as African Americans. One of our greatest battles is accepting things that we can influence and make a difference in, and things that we can. All right. So it's so important. So it says too many African Americans and African American young adults are born into circumstances they did not choose. Economic instability, community violence, underfunded schools, generational trauma, and fractured family systems. These realities matter, and ignoring them would be dishonest. But the danger is what psychologists call learned helplessness, a condition where people begin to believe they have no control, even in areas where they actually do. Studies show that when individuals feel completely powerless, their motivation drops up to 40%. And this is really unique for the Black experience because we're such a small percentage in this country, and most of the systems in America, whether it be government, law enforcement, industry, is majority in the power of, white Americans, white folks. So when you're a young Black child, a young Black person growing up in this country, is not uncommon to feel like you don't have any influence over your conditions. So, the first battle that we have to master as young African American people is, where is my power? Where is my power? Power meaning not necessarily hierarchical power or dominance, but where can I influence or develop some sort of skill or technique that over the long term will progress and advance me, my mental health, my spiritual health, and my well being, that I may be a functional member in the Black community. And maybe I'll be able to connect with other African Americans who are like minded. It's so important for Black people to meditate on where your power is, where is your focus, and that focus in terms of where can I invest time and energy in developing skills that not only benefit me, advance me, mature me. Because when you focus on your skill and your ability to, you know, think about what you're thinking about, sharpen your mindset, sharpen your mentality. When you're able to focus on your thoughts and how much power there is in transforming and renewing your thinking. Hey, what's up, everybody? Good to see you guys. I'm from Detroit. Good to see you guys. When you focus your energy on your thinking, Black people, it gives you more power, right? It makes you feel more self esteem, more self confidence, more courage. You can't focus too much on the American system, right? You can't focus too much on the conditions. I'm in the USA. You got to focus on your mental condition because that's something that you can see results quicker in, right? You get more excited when you invest your time and your energy in where you can see some results, right? If you focus on the racism in the community, maybe the white folks don't like you, the Mexicans don't like you, your neighbors don't like you. If you focus on your boss, right? Maybe you got the boss that don't like you and you're in this neighborhood. If you focus too much on that, you're not going to see quick results, right? Unless you're a fucking millionaire. As an African American, you're not going to see quick results. You're going to be discouraged. Your motivation decreases by 40% when you focus too much on what you can't control. It's okay to think about the conditions that Black people are in and to talk about these things because we have to have some sense of community validation. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Do you see what I see? Right? It's Christmas time. So, but you can't stay there, right? The more you focus too much on external conditions and you invest too much in external conditions, you're powerless, right? You set yourself up for being helpless as a Black person, all right? So it says here, studies show that when individuals, you know, feel completely powerless, their motivation drops up to 40%, and their ability to pursue long term goals decreases dramatically. So, the more you focus in on your conditions, the more you're overthinking about the racism, the discrimination. Oh, this person don't like me. And a lot of times, the people who are racist towards you, and you can be any race, they may not be as skillful as you. Just because a person is racist doesn't necessarily mean they're your superior. Right? People can intellectualize hate all day, but that doesn't make them greater and that doesn't make you lesser, right? There's more dimensions and variables, right, that play into your greatness, a person's legacy, right? More than just hate, right? We can't keep as Black people using hate as the only measure for greatness, right? Oh, they're racist towards me, so that must mean I'm a piece of shit, right? Oh, these white people don't like me, so that must mean they're better than me. No, not really, right? A lot of greats, right? Look at Jesus Christ, the Son of God, right? The cosmic, controller, right? Took on flesh, came on earth. Look at all the hate he got. But you mean to tell me Jesus Christ being God in the flesh isn't great? You can't even put the word great. You mean to tell me he's not majestic and glorious, right? But look at all the hate he got, right? So you got to use a different measure for greatness, right? A different measure for value besides, oh, they don't like me, so that must mean they're better than me. No, a lot of times people who don't like you, right? And you could be any culture, it's because they're jealous of you, right? They fear you, right? They see your potential, right? So says here, this is why focusing solely on environments we cannot immediately change can quietly drain our strength and distort our sense of possibility. But when young Black men and women shift their focus towards what is within their influence, right? Your mindset, your attitude, your values, your habits, your skill, the same things we overstress about in the races. Oh, they must be better than me. They must be more intellectually sharp, Randy. They must be more gifted because they had all the schools, right? You can develop that shit too. If you took your attention off of them and put it on your mental capacity, right? Your skill, your ability to bend steel, right? You could be just as great, if not better, right? So focusing what's on within your control, your mindset, your attitude, your values, your habits, your skill building, your self perception, right? Something powerful happens. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that people who adopt a high internal focus and locus of control are 32% more resilient, 25% more persistent, and significantly less likely to experience depression when exposed to adversity. This doesn't remove barriers, but it strengthens the person facing them. It creates the foundation for sustainable self worth rather than self worth that fluctuates with society's approval or disapproval. This is especially critical because African Americans often carry the weight of both personal struggles and systemic pressures. When you don't feel control externally, your internal world becomes your sanctuary, your strategy room, your anchor. Your self perception becomes a shield against the stereotypes, aggression, and dismissiveness or misjudgments that you can't avoid in every space you enter. And because human beings spend 85 to 90% of their daily thoughts in internal dialogue, human beings spend 85 to 90% of their time talking to themselves, right? In their thoughts, how you speak to yourself determines whether you become your own ally or your own adversary, right? So ultimately, while the world may try to define you based on your environment, your challenges, or your mistakes, only you live with your thoughts. When everyone else leaves, right? All your other friends, all your family, right? All the races, right? All the whites, all the Mexicans, all the Asians, all the South Americans, all the Indians, when everybody else is gone, right? Is you alone with your thoughts, right? Your responsibility is to build a mind that protects you, interprets reality with clarity, and refuses to surrender your agency. You cannot always change the neighborhood, right? Your parents' behavior or the resources around you, but you can change the way you see yourself, what you expect from yourself, and what you build from here, right? So some points on, responsibility, power, and internal influence, right? You are responsible for your interpretation of events. Two people can live in the same home. the same street in the same city, yet develop completely different futures because interpretation shapes your identity. Research shows that cognitive appraisal accounts for 70% of emotional response, meaning how you interpret something matters more than the event itself. When you choose empowering interpretations, I can learn, I can adapt. This is shaping me. You reduce stress and increase problem solving ability. Your interpretation accounts for 70%, right, of your emotional response, even greater than the event itself, right? That's powerful. This responsibility protects your mental health and your forward momentum. Focusing on your interpretation also prevents external chaos from controlling your internal well being. You may not control someone else's disrespect or a narcissistic parent or community trauma, but you can control whether those experiences define you or teach you, right? A University of Michigan study found that individuals with positive psychological attitudes showed 48% better long term life outcomes, even when they're raised in low income households. It doesn't matter if you're poor, right? Attitude doesn't erase struggle, but it influences how you meet the struggle, right? Your responsibility is to cultivate an attitude that serves you, not one shaped solely by frustration or survival. When you choose an attitude of discipline, right, optimism, right, and patience, you reclaim power from situations designed to make you feel powerless. This mindset is a form of resistance, right? Skills, not circumstances, move people forward. Data from the Brookings Institution found that acquiring just one high demand skill increases long term earning potential by 15 to 22%, regardless of your race. Just developing a skill, right? A high demand skill increases your earning potential by 22%, regardless of your race, right? This means your responsibility lies in your skill stacking, financial literacy, emotional regulation, communication, right? Conflict resolution, writing, public speaking, tech skills. Skill development gives you leverage. Even if the system is slow to change, your abilities can move you beyond the limitations of your situation, right? You might be in an environment where it's been ghetto for 30 fucking years, right? Everybody's robbing, killing, stealing, and you got a few good people in there doing the right thing. And you're just like, man, this will never change. I leave the hood, Randy. I go on deployment. I come back and steal the fucking hood, right? But guess what changed? Your skill development, right? Your emotional literacy, right? Your emotional intelligence, your cognitive ability, your cognitive flexibility, right? Your interpretation change. That's what matters. Don't look for the environment to change all the time at your pace. Sometimes you got to supersede your environment, right? You make the difference. So it says here, growing up in survival mode trains many African Americans to react quickly, always defending themselves and staying on alert, right? But emotional regulation is one of the strongest predictors of success. Studies show a 35% increase in life satisfaction for people who learn emotional management skills. Your responsibility is not to silence your emotions, but to slow down, understand your feelings, right? Your emotions point to what you need. Whenever you have a feeling, ask yourself, what am I needing? Emotions are barometers, right? You know those little barometers, beep, 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 beep. They are barometers, right? That are indicators to the degree your needs are being met or your needs are not being met. A lot of times, as Black folks, we don't know what we need. We don't know what our needs are. We're so busy people pleasing, serving everybody. Do you need this? Do you need that? I gotta fit in. I gotta look cool for the gang, man. I gotta look real. I gotta be down, right? And it's not all of us, but what do you need, right? That's what makes you you. That's what makes you. You can't spell unique without you, right? What am I needing? Right? If you have a negative emotion, right? An overwhelming negative emotion coming up, what need is coming up? Right? And then if I can know what I'm needing, I can develop strategies to meet that need. Right? So, yeah, man. Salute to the chat. I appreciate you guys, all the likes, all the subscriptions. God bless you guys, man. I'm praying for the chat. Everybody who watches this video, man, I really, really, really appreciate it. You guys have been taking my account to the next level. I've been seeing a lot of great progress and a lot of good feedback, people interacting in the comment section, and all of that stuff really makes a big difference. I try not to focus too much on that because I'm trying to perfect my craft and really figure out what direction I want to take this channel. But you guys taking time out to look at my channel, learn, listen, critique, all of that makes a really big difference. And I really appreciate you. I'm praying that God keeps you, protects you, that you prosper and you thrive, because there's plenty of room for all of us at the top, man. So I love you guys. I really appreciate you guys taking time out to watch my videos. Um, so your responsibility is not to silence your emotions, but to slow down, understand them, and make decisions aligned with your future, not your frustration, right? Black youth often internalize messages from the media, school systems, and even family that say, you are too much, right? You're not enough, or you're never going to make it, right? But psychological research shows that self esteem is influenced 55% by internal messaging and only 15% by external feedback. So ultimately, your self esteem, according to the research, is going to be more greatly influenced by what you're telling yourself, right? People tell you, oh, you're not going to make it, right? Some people never forget that. I think Steve Harvey sent TVs to the teacher that told him, you're not going to be on TV. You're not going to be using their TVs every year, right? But really, it was what he told himself that took him to the top, right? That what she said was 15%. And I'm not saying, it didn't probably inspire him, but the greatest coach is what you tell yourself, right? So don't get too caught up in what people think about you, your teachers, your coaches, your mentors, sometimes even your parents, right? It's about what you think about yourself, right? Says here again, self-esteem is influenced only 55%, right? 55% actually by your internal messaging and only 15% by external feedback. All right. Even in high stress situations, choice is power. Study shows that young adults who practice intentional decision making, slowing down, pausing, evaluating, and choosing are 40% less likely to fall into destructive patterns, regardless of their background. You may not control the pressure, but you control who you become under pressure. Every choice either builds your future or borrows from it. There's a quote that says, things turn out best for those who make the best out of the way things turn out. All right. What's up, Rain, Spangba, Via, Jay? I appreciate all you guys. Nice. You're in Turkey. Salute to Turkey. It is unfair, but it is true. Trauma that is not healed gets recycled. Research shows that unresolved trauma increases impulsivity by up to 60% and can distort thinking patterns for years. Your responsibility is not to blame yourself for the pain, but to own the healing process. Therapy, emotional literacy, faith, journaling, boundary setting, right? Healing is not a luxury, it is a form of survival and liberation. The NAACP reported that youth who create long term visions for their lives are 43% more likely to escape generational poverty. Vision gives direction, and direction gives discipline, right? Without vision, the environment becomes the teacher, right? With vision, you become your own teacher. Without vision, your environment becomes your teacher. Without vision, your environment becomes your parent, right? Your circumstances become your parent without vision, right? But with vision, you become your teacher. Your responsibility is to imagine more for yourself, black man, black woman, right? More than what you see around you, right? Spending too much time focused on what you can't change leads to psychological deterioration. Research shows that overfocus on uncontrollable conditions increases feelings of powerlessness up to 50%. Your responsibility is to recognize when a space, right, whether it be family conflict, neighborhood violence, draining friendships, is shaping you negatively, right? And when stepping back protects your future. You cannot control your parents, your friends, your partner, or your entire community, but influence is possible. A 2022 study found that individuals who focused on influence rather than control experienced 28% higher resilience and better emotional balance. All right. So, social media distorts reality. Studies show that heavy social media use increases depression in young adults by 66%, especially when comparing financial or lifestyle differences. Guard your mental space like sacred territory, right? Comparing your journey to others just weakens your focus and disconnects you from your own path. Psychologists have found that your peer group influences your outcomes by up to 50% more than your family or your school. This means your responsibility is to choose friends who elevate you, challenge you, and hold you accountable. Your peers influence you 50% more than your parents. The people who you have around you, your so called homies, right? They're going to have a greater influence on your future than your own family, right? Systemic issues are real. Racism, discrimination, wealth gaps, and limited opportunities, they absolutely impact outcomes. But focusing on the system alone creates paralysis. Research shows that when people over focus on injustice without focusing on internal agency, motivation drops up to 44%, right? Daily habits account for about 45% of all your behavior. And researchers estimate habits predict life outcomes more strongly than intelligence or income level. Habits such as reading, right? Saving money, networking, working out, praying, journaling, and practicing discipline are within your control. Identity is constructed, not designed or assigned. When African American youth define themselves through their purpose, values, strength internally, the environment loses its group. Study shows that strong identity formation increases resilience by up to 52% and significantly lowers anxiety and depression. Your responsibility is to choose who you will be, your character, your principles, your mindset, and not give that power to anyone else, including your past or your circumstances. That's all I got today. Peace.